Hey, Anne, excited to have you on the podcast.
Nice to be here. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So, if you could share with us really how you came to do this work.
Oh my goodness, that goes back a long time ago. When I was an obstetric nurse, I realized there's so much more that needs to be done that I wanted to do, and I was seeing a lot of this is back in the 80s. Unfortunately, the late 80s, still going on today, just what I was seeing, what was going on with modern medicine, modern medical care around obstetrics, and my own experience in it, having my babies in that for my first two, very traumatic. And my hands were tied as a nurse, and I wanted a much more holistic human approach. And a friend of mine had said, and this is before internet, obviously, you did you ever think about becoming a midwife? And I'm like, what's a midwife? And I went to the library and I did all kinds of research, and I'm like, oh, I'm home. I am home. And it really, it restores sort of the humanity to the experience, the sacredness to the experience, and the power to the woman, right, to the person. And when it's all working well, I mean, we just kind of, a lot of my role is just educating and getting the mind out of the way, helping the mom getting her mind out of the way so her body can do what it needs to do. And education, because we're in the West, and just people don't have that passing of information from generation to generation, like in the tribal community living that we used to, have in and it's still going on in the rest of the world. And there's a lot of toxins and toxic exposure, even what we're seeing and hearing, aside from what we're ingesting and putting on our, in our nose, in our bodies, in our skins, things like that. But I find a lot of the people are just very stressed out, and that's why I really tackle that. And that is, inner stress is the source of so many issues. So but the midwives take more of a holistic approach, and I've always been very interested in the holistic approach. And we specialize in normal, and most times things are normal. And if somebody has a little bit of issue here too, we can work on that, but we like to keep it normal and healthy. And sometimes we collaborate with obstetricians or physicians or naturopaths or other acupuncture, chiropractic, when something's out of our scope and we think other modalities would help. But I just came home, and I've been doing that since 1995. So it's caught over 1,000 babies since then. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. And we see people through people who are healthy don't need to see a doctor. I mean, we do everything. We don't do cesarean birth. We assist at that, but we really don't. People can come to us, planning a pregnancy as teenagers, birth control, family planning, how to get pregnant, all through the journey of well woman gynecology, pregnancy care, labor, birth, postpartum, and beyond. So we could see people from, teenage years through past menopause.
Yeah, so let's talk about, so if someone's gone through the fertility journey, they're pregnant, and the early months of that can be stressful, right? Because there could be concern about loss or just worry because it's taken years. So how would I've done a podcast episode about a doula who actually kind of comes in fairly early to help someone with this. So as far as your role as someone who's maybe been on the fertility journey, when do you see what are you seeing there?
Well, I've had a lot of families that have had IVF, right? And then they come to me, usually, at the 12-week, around that time, and then they're welcome to come sooner and see both me and the infertility endocrinologist or specialist or whatever like that. But then I work. A lot of them aren't as stressed as I would think, but some of them have been so traumatized by going through that whole system, and so that's when I work on, I pull out my tools of really helping that mom master her inner calm. That is so essential. People can look like they have a very easy life, but inside they're in a hell, right? They're in inner stress, or they can look like they have a lot of stress outside, but inside they've mastered their inner calm. They can have chaos all around them, but they can still tap into that. So there I bring out my yoga, I'm a yoga teacher, and I bring out my training with that, and I'm a breathwork practitioner. So which is teaching, the first part of breath is work is teaching people how to use breath and the power of sort of guided meditation or meditation, and it's a regular practice to sort of tap into that inner calm no matter what is going on, and to make it a regular practice, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the night. Everybody's so busy, but the busier you are, the more you need to do this, right? And it's not it's made simple. You just sit or lie down and focus on your breath and the vast infinite space within you and all around you. And if your mind wanders, which we do, we have a mind, it's going to wander. The muscle of it is to bring yourself back. No judgment. Okay, I have a thought, let it pass like a cloud in the sky, or, just not getting off that train stop right now, not to carry it, down. And I, through just doing this, this practice, and some people do it in nature, walk while walking, just sort of a mindful activity, and focusing just on the breath, because their mind is racing. And a lot of times the mind makes us anxious, those thoughts that are not true, the what if, was it Mark Twain that said, my life was full of the worst disasters, all of which never happened, right? So we have this what if thinking, and we're, what if I lose the baby? What if I lose, but what if you don't, right? So I also work on a lot of mindset shifts. Like if they're really bombarded with these what if horrible things happen, well, what if I have the most beautiful experience? I mean, the opposite could be absolutely true as well. And it's actually it creates such an empowering, calm sort of surrendering to what is not in our control. But we can use our imagination. We have this active imagination, conjuring up all these disasters. We can use it to, like, what if I have the best, healthy pregnancy and birth, and go with that, because it's just as true. They're all, it's just could as possible, for example, right? So I work a lot with the mindset and how also to sort of surrender, like there's a peace that comes with surrendering to what's not in our control. Like I really do believe we're spirits temporarily residing in bodies, and people like to think in the West that so much is in our control, but actually so much is actually not in our control. So I'm going to do my part, what I can do, and I encourage that mama to do, that expecting mama to do what she can do. And then we need to surrender to what is not in our control. And I even try to help them embrace, what if when there's an outcome that's not good, obviously we have to, that's not good as we judge it to be in this three-dimensional world that we're living in. We have to grieve. Yeah, I encourage them to emote and really grieve that loss. But then there comes, and sometimes we need to do more of an intensive sort of rebirthing breathwork session to get into the subconscious so they can release the trauma of that. But the ideal way, for healing is, and less suffering, is sort of to embrace even what we don't like as gifts, because it's for our growth. There's a reason for it happening. We may not understand the whys right now, but that's the ideal to get to. And when someone's in that, I'm not, they're going to, not that they're not going to be open to that necessarily, but that's kind of down the line where I would go with that. But I've had so many people in my practice have, go through all the infertility work and have healthy babies in the home or the hospital setting. So it's pretty common because, I think a lot of people are waiting till later to have their babies, but but I also see people who haven't even tried that yet. I have people in my practice that had, bone marrow transplants, and they have no more eggs. It was killed by the chemotherapy, and the doc, and then and they just have they have a baby. Just, like miracles happen. I want people, I had a doctor tell a mom she had IVF each time she had, so it took her 10 years to have to get pregnant. For their first one, she had one baby, and then she wanted another one, so more IVF. A lot of it failed, and then finally 3 years later she has another one. And all this multiple IVF. So her doctor, when she came to have the third baby, he said, "You have no more eggs left. I have nothing to work with." So she went home and she just kind of gave up, and then she got pregnant naturally. So I guess the doctor missed that one, right? There was an egg left. So I really caution people to be very wary of the bad news that they get, because who are human beings? Even the most skilled, reproductive endocrinologist, a skilled physician isn't God, isn't spirit, isn't that, and I have just seen people that defy it all, right? I had a doctor told this woman she's never going to get pregnant because her endometriosis is so bad. So, she had been trying, and, we worked with her, and it was secondary infertility. She had a baby, and an older son who was like 6 or 7 and got pinworms. And she just kind of when the doctor told her that, she just gave up. All right, I'm not going to have a baby. I mean, what, I was surrendering. And she went to this pediatrician, and he says, "I can't give you this Vermox for the pinworms until we have a pregnancy test." She goes, "I'm not pregnant." He says, "I need you to give me a test." And guess what? It was positive. So actually, even though that doctor did her a disservice by saying she's never going to get pregnant, she relaxed and surrendered, and then she got pregnant. So I started to see a lot of correlation of this inner stress that is very toxic, and can really interfere with getting pregnant. That and also messages of doom from providers.
I agree. Yeah. Because typically, so we're focusing on low AMH and high FSH and premature ovarian insufficiency and diminished ovarian reserve. So when you get that diagnosis, it's devastating. I was diagnosed with premature ovarian insufficiency at 28, had both my kids with donor eggs. And no one looked at the underlying, the food sensitivities, the gut infections,
right,
and
all that
chronic stress, although I wouldn't have said I was stressed, because I'm like, let's just get shit done and let's keep going. And in the fertility community saying, just relax, you'll get pregnant. People just want to jump up and slap you. But there is a thing with like looking at your cortisol and looking at your mental, emotional stress, and really getting honest about that.
Mind body is so connected. That you talk about the AMH. I had a mom come to me that was told that she had no AMH, none. She has 5 kids.
Yeah, that's just a predictor of how well you'll do it.
She has one baby after another every year.
Yeah, predictor of how well you'll do at IVF, and people, and it's hard because you're given this diagnosis,
right?
And then you're being told that donor eggs are the only option. No one looks at the root cause of what's going on. And so that can be, you can kind of catastrophize, you can ruminate, you can almost negatively hypnotize yourself too. Where instead of like visualizing, visualizing the positive outcome,
right,
we negatively hypnotize ourselves that it's all doom and gloom and blah, blah, blah. And that the repeating of that well-meaning RE, those words could just like be stuck in our subconscious. So we really believe like
That's
you're
why
talking
I love
about
the breath work, because it gets into the subconscious. But why do you think so many people who adopt babies get pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
They just give up,
and
they're just not stressed about it anymore. And then they get pregnant. It's a thing.
Yeah. It's like looking at the mind, body, spirit. So we can, get all the science tasks and do all that. But if you haven't, dug deeper and really visualize and believe and really see how you can address these stressors and get help with trauma and more, So I know my daughter's 20 and my son's 17. So
Wow.
obviously I went through this years ago, and back then it wasn't really a thing to have a midwife. Now everyone's like got a doula and a midwife, and it seems more common. And I'm like, if I was to do it again, yes, I would have a midwife and I would have that, because I remember as I was going to give birth, I freaked out that I needed to have this breathing. I ran around trying to find classes for breathing. I was so focused on trying to understand how to do this. And then the whole thing went to crap, and I had like 18 hours of labor, then had to have a C-section and the whole thing. And I just was, I guess, devastated by that, because I had to envision this whole birth plan. But so I guess kind of from let's go back to the breath work then. So I've done breath work where I've done a lot of meditation and breathing, things like that, but breath work can also be a little bit different. Like I've done it where you're literally
that's the rebirthing, the clarity breath work that I do.
That stuff where like your fingers kind of clench up and your whole body is like buzzing, and I felt like I was floating above myself, and you literally have seen some sort of epiphany. Like it's not just like
transformational.
Yeah. Can you describe that for people? Because if you haven't experienced it.
So I wrote a book called The Trauma Release Formula. That is, I go into it very, more deeply, just like what it is, but breath is life force. And it's biblically it was, God gave breath to Adam and Eve or whatever, and gave them life, right? All the biblical religions say that. The yogis have known that for thousands of years, that prana, breath, or, in Asian medicine, chi, whatever, what's it's a spiritual life force, but it's also, so breath work aims to, it's a certain type of circular breathing. It's not a yogic type breathing, although it does, its sources are based in that, Leonard Orr and Sandra Ray brought it to the West in the 70s or something like that. But it's a circular type breathing, very deep, trying to maximize getting your full lung capacity. In the West, we're breathing about 20 to 30% of our 100% lung capacity. So we're going for 100% of oxygen. Oxygen is the main fuel for the body, for every cell. It's how, we can't function without it. It's very healing to get 100% of air, which contains 21% of oxygen. But so we're aiming to get that energy, that fuel that fuels every cell in our body. And lungs is a major organ of detox. So just on a physical level, we're detoxing. We're getting rid of carbon dioxide, but also other toxins, and we're creating an alkaline state, which is the optimal physical state of the body. We're releasing all kinds of wonderful hormones that that from the parasympathetic nervous system. And then on an emotional level, so it works on a spiritual level, an emotional level, and a physical level. The emotional level is that when we study trauma from looking at animals, and when a mammal in the wild, sees a tiger, for example, a deer sees a tiger, it's usually in a calm parasympathetic alert state. That's how the body functions best. But we have that fight or flight or freeze stress response for survival. So the stress response will go, and the tiger will have the deer will have all this energy to run, fight the tiger. It's going to lose that one, so it's going to run or freeze. And that's what happens. We see this with people, like a 9/11 or some major, car accident or major trauma. Sometimes people freeze. They leave their body, and it's almost like a compassionate, a compassion from the divine that we wouldn't feel. The deer wouldn't feel being eaten alive, because there's endorphins being released and all this. And they leave their body, actually. And so the deer plays dead. And that also has a way of, and totally the tiger will see a dead deer that looks dead and go away and get another dinner, another meal, another deer. And that's the deer's last chance of escaping if the tiger's too close. So then when the tiger leaves, the deer will get up. Either way, the deer will run to safety and shake it off. Shake it off, and they resume being. The trauma leaves their body. They reset, and they resume being in that calm, alert state. They don't carry baggage. But humans, a lot of times it's just not what we do, right? Like any kind of unprocessed emotional pain, stress, or trauma, we hold our breath, and anything that's just not processed, we bury, we escape, we numb, we suppress. It gets trapped as stored, trapped energy actually in the body. So when we do this kind of breath work, it's like kind of like a computer reset, turning off and turning on, right? The person gets in a subconscious state, very, if they're doing it the way, we instruct them to do it. They're getting out of their conscious mind, and the body just knows how to heal. So the body has, you get symptoms of breathing in this way, like what you were saying. Sometimes the hands tighten up, or there's temperature changes, tingling all over the body. There's all kinds of sensations. And the key is to relax and surrender into the sensation, because it's safe to breathe, and it's safe to heal. It's safe to feel. And it's the feeling that's the healing. So you just dive right into it. And that's, it's kind of similar to, birth. People are so afraid sometimes of the intensity of a sensation without the story. Let's say the baby's crowning, or she's in late labor. So rather than fight it, the wave's just going to knock down a surfer who fights the wave. Ride it, dive into it, just go with it. So things will come up, and then the body just like releases, and shaking is a very common phenomenon it happens, and that's a good thing. So we allow the body to do what it needs to do. And in doing this, so much trauma and emotional pain and stress can be released. And then the nervous system sort of resets. And now some people who have a history of a lot of trauma may need several sessions, but it shaves like years off of psychotherapy and things like that. You don't even have to know what understand, just allow the body to do its thing. And I've really witnessed a lot of miracles with this, like really miraculous transformation. It saved my own life, so I wanted to share the gold. And it's very similar, holding space for someone to do that, similar to holding space for someone to birth.
Yeah, I've done it.
Rebirthing.
Yeah, I've done it in a group environment, and there was music going, and there was drums, and everyone, I don't know, this was like pre-COVID, there was like 50 people in a room.
Oh yeah.
And it was, and then they're like, you'll never cry these tears again. I'm like, what are you talking about? And, the tears are like coming down, like down your face, and people are like bawling beside me. And then they kind of take you through it, because that in itself sounds traumatic, but that release.
No, but then they end up feeling great.
Yeah, exactly. The release.
Lighter. They just took thousands of pounds of bricks they were holding and just let them go. Some people laugh. Some people have orgasmic experiences. Yes. Every experience is different. And, I say, welcome whatever your body has to say or move, make noises, and there's things that we can do. We're obviously supporting them, there's group sessions, there's private sessions. We can do it online. I like in person, of course, but for the online community, it can be done online, but it's very powerful. And like I said, this work is deep and it's energy. And when you have especially when you tie it to an affirmation, you're just not breathing by itself, but like the highest, thing, state you want to be. I'm free. Let go. Let God. I'm whole. I'm fertile. I'm joy. I'm light. these are things to say to yourself. Inhale, exhale. I'm free. I'm joy. I'm light. Whatever it is at that moment. Sometimes it's let go, just let go, really let go. And so it sort of directs your experience. And then in the end, you're sort of breathing in this light, this joy, this gratitude. And it's sort of this connection with all that is in you and all that is. So we never, ever have a person leave in a state of stuck in some sort of a pain, or trauma. And it's always without the story. We're not interested in the story because it's not about the story. A lot of times therapy, you just go over and over and over the story, and it just brings up pain. It just triggers the same thing. So this is kind of getting beneath. Right.
Yeah. Getting the trauma out of the body, those blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The body just has to process and heal and release and whatever, it's really amazing.
And do you have anything that you're personally obsessed with right now, be it an app, a documentary, a book, anything that you're like, wow, this is just, I got to share it with everybody?
My book. No.
There you go. Your book.
Well, my book is why I'm excited about it. It's 580 pages.
That's a big one. Yeah.
It's a big one. So before we had, I remember when Word came out, and I was working in a midwifery hospital practice, and I was given 20 minutes with each person. But of course, like as they're leaving, like they're saying, do you have anything to tell me from my heartburn, or I'm constipated, or I'm kind of feeling like mood swings or up and down, and I'm exhausted, I'm nauseous, whatever, they tell me. And I started to just do all this research on all the holistic modalities they can do for all the complaints that they tell me about. And they used to carry these binders with them, and it was very thick, and they would call it like Anne's Bible, like childbearing Bible or something like that. What can I eat? What supplements do I take? How do I make a decision about ultrasound or ROGAM, or should I have an epidural? Like all these, what are the pros and cons? And all the natural modalities for breech and for everything that, flu, stomach bug, and that. People used to say you should write a book. Eventually I did. That's what that is. And it's been refined and refined and refined. And that's what the Natural Birth Secrets is. So I'm excited about it because it's like my life's work, and so, yeah, I'm excited about it, but there's a lot of books that I like.
Beautiful. Yeah, for sure. And when did that come out, that one?
Oh, this one, the second edition. Well, let's see. The second edition. The second edition was 2020. The first edition was 2018. I would not advise getting the first edition because that's what happens when you pay cheap for an editor. It wasn't edited right, and I was like, "Oh no, this is not."
Love it.
Like, oh, so I had to really go for the good editing, and yeah.
Excellent.
Cost me a bit, but at least it's out, and now I don't have to give handouts anymore. I said that's in my book,
There you go. Refer to the book.
Yeah, and, it just has, it's people say, why don't you do an audio book? Because some of the articles are very audio friendly, right? But if a lot of it's a reference that, book, like what do I do when I have a cold? Modern medicine just take Sudafed, take Tylenol, yeah. Right? No. There's I go through the whole lifestyle steps, all the way down to homeopathic remedies, herbal remedies, supplements, and, alternative practitioners, that really heal colds and flus and come into play with the COVID, so that, it's like a reference book for, that carries them through the whole journey of how to get pregnant all the way, what do I eat? What supplements do I take? All through postpartum and beyond. So it's, and
where can they find that book?
Natural Birth. Are you in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, but
awesome.
I mean, it's
Amazon,
Natural Birth Secrets. Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's all the other bookstores too, but I know Amazon, Barnes and Noble, that kind of thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so any final thoughts here on our topic that we discussed today?
Well, I just want people to have hope and not give up, and realize that I realize that a miracle can happen in a moment. I've seen them. I've seen it. Acupuncture is really good. There's all these modalities, taking the supplements and the herbs and all that stuff. But I just want to say that when so many people are told they can never get pregnant and they get pregnant, there's something else at play here. Okay. So just to be open to the miracles and that science isn't God. It's just
I love it.
one. I mean, yeah, we got, there's a place for it, right? There's a place for it. Yes, I'll put someone on natural progesterone if the progesterone is low, and that's why they're miscarrying. But then there's such a huge part of the picture where the modern medicine is just not addressing. So I love, I'm very into Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations. I don't know if you
Yep.
do that, but yeah, you can, how you can, he has these walking meditations that you can get the walking in and the meditation and being outside. It's all at the same thing. Everyone's so busy. It's like 3 in 1. But I mean, he really has you visualize your future and in such a deep meditative state, and you are your future. You are, and he had, there's such wonderful testimonials that he has. So I use a lot of that. It's what we think. If we're always thinking, the negative, the problems, we're going to eat them for breakfast because we're just going to manifest more of the same negative that's never going to happen. This kind of thing. So it's between that and knowing how to relax yourselves, how to really ground, feel yourself on the ground, feel your center, tap into the whole of who you are, not just the physical. And we see some really amazing things with this.
And you have a free emotional well-being assessment, so they can find that at
that's on my website.
Yeah, Home Sweet Birth, homesweethomebirth.com, Clarity Breathwork, New York. So I'll have that in the link. So what can they expect there?
Well, it's people that can take that assessment and then see, they may, think they're feeling fine, but they can take that assessment and it really gives them a sense of, well, maybe I could use a little help. And we are able to, I mean, if I can do this, anyone can do this, because I think, oh my gosh, breathe and relax and stay still, because I was raised in the West in a culture of busyness, being busy, and my mind was racing, and how could I ever stop thinking? And, and to see where I am now, I mean, that if I could, I was like the classic, no way, right? Can I relax myself and stop my thinking and slow, or even just slow it down? And I'm just going to keep moving like a what do you call? But yeah, that's a recipe for disaster and all kinds of dis-ease in the body. So the power and the benefits of being able to slow down your breath and how that helps you relax, and the benefits of meditation are in the research now, in the science, the Heart Math Institute. There's a lot of other top researching bodies in throughout the world that are documenting the huge benefits of doing this, calming ourselves down and meditating and things like that.
Fully agree. Any final thoughts on this topic, Ann?
You can do it. You can do it. And I really recommend cultivating your spiritual connection, because we have to be able to surrender to the sort of this divine intelligence. I don't care what religion, it doesn't have to be religion, just knowing that, we're human beings here temporarily in a body, and that there is so much that we cannot control that's really governing, the whole sort, creating, governing the world. And when we surrender to that and sort of go with the flow, there's an ease that comes with that. There's an ease. And knowing that things happen to us, not knowing that things happen for us, not to us, so that we're not, always in this victim state, that things are happening for us, for our growth. We don't always know why, but just to know that, just to surrender to that, it just creates more ease in your life, in the way you feel inside, and you might notice some miracles happening.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing your passion and your words of wisdom. I loved it.
Great.
Thanks, Ann. Okay.